UFC Fight Night 172 Kattar versus Ige took place on Fight Island last night, and it was an entertaining and interesting card while it lasted. A little bit of a roller coaster. It had everything that every UFC event has. A little bit of controversy here, a little bit of bad stoppaging here, a little bit of this and that there. I mean, it was perfect. Every single UFC event has come with a bundle package of all these other things that come with it as well. This event was no different. It was a fun event to watch. There were some fun fights throughout. There were a few fights on the card that were almost guaranteed to go the way they did. However, let's go through the entire card, give my reaction to every single fight on the card, starting with the early prelims, ending with the main event of Kattar versus Ige, but starting with the early prelim opener of Jack Shore versus Aaron Phillips. This was a very important fight to me because Jack Shore is from the UK. I've been talking about Jack Shore for a very long time. To me, this fight wasn't a prediction on who was going to win. It was just, does Jack Shore make it look as easy as he's made everyone else look in his career? He has just completely dominated every single fighter in his career so far, and it feels like the higher the level of competition he's coming up against, because Aaron Phillips was 12-3. He was on like a 5-fight win streak coming into this, 3 of them by TKO or something. He is no slouch. Aaron Phillips is a very, very dangerous fighter. Landed 7 strikes on Jack Shore. 7 strikes. The last guy landed maybe around the same. I mean, it just seems to be a thing with Jack Shore where it's not even how we predicted him to win, especially against guys like this. I feel like now might be a time like Jack Shore is really going to get a jump up the rankings, but his performance here was just absolutely dominant. Every single time he ends up on top of a guy on the ground, it just seems to be one-way traffic. Jack Shore is eventually going to win. He escaped the first round, did Aaron Phillips, escaped a couple takedowns as well, but Jack Shore didn't look too sloppy on the feet. He has some good leg kicks that he throws. Aaron Phillips just didn't look like he wanted to throw, because he knew that Jack Shore's takedown timing is so impeccable that if he does throw and overthrows and misses, he's just going to get blast double-legged and taken down. And to be fair to him, that's exactly what happened. Jack Shore's takedowns are very nice indeed. I very much enjoyed watching them, and Jack Shore just dominates yet another opponent, improving his undefeated record to 13-0. Add that onto his undefeated record in amateurs of 12-0. He just keeps on winning. He's undefeated through amateurs. Every single fight for every single amateur there is maybe in the UK right now, because there are not a lot of amateur MMA fighters, and this guy's been winning all of the events in the amateur world. Now comes to the pro world, 13-0. He just doesn't even make it look difficult though. That's what I'm finding a bit weird about Jack Shore. So for me, I like these fights against guys who have good records, 12-3. This guy, Aaron Phillips, not an old guy by any means, coming off a big win streak as well. A decent opponent, but I think we're going to have to find a level above these guys for Jack Shore. And I think he could take on a guy like maybe a Benito Lopez in the division, because that's a decent fight. Benito Lopez, 2-1, coming off a big win. Maybe Mario Batista in a division. Another guy, 2-1, coming off 2 wins in a row against decent opponents. Those guys are also quite far up the rankings. I like Jack Shore. I like what they're doing. They're giving him some fights. He was supposed to be fighting Geraldo de Freitas Jr. here. A decent test for him. He ended up pulling out, and I actually think he got a more dangerous opponent in Aaron Phillips with a better record and more to gain out of this fight as well. A man with everything to win is a dangerous man, and Jack Shore went out there and just completely obliterated him. Shut him down, technical grappling start to finish. I called a rear naked choke submission in round 2. It was a rear naked choke submission in round 2. It was just dominance on the ground. Good job from Jack Shore getting the job done. Definitely going to want to see a jump up in competition, because we can't keep feeding him these guys. Although they're good and they're 12-3 and they have good records, we got to find someone a bit better for him, because clearly he's just going to keep running through these guys if we keep handing them to him. So, moving on. Jack Shore gets the job done. Liana Huha. One of the longest, I don't know why I pronounce it like that, I just think it's funny. One of the longest arm bars I've seen in my life. I don't think I've ever seen one in an armbar position for that long since maybe GSP versus Dan Hardy, but still. Liana Huha just completely submitted the Annabelle Beater in the first round. But also, what's one thing I noticed, that even though when they were in the armbar, Liana Huha still couldn't get the armbar. She was in an armbar, like snap-worthy armbar, but Liana still couldn't get the armbar somehow. I don't know what she's been training for her entire life, but she was literally given an armbar in the perfect position for an armbar for about a minute long in that first round, and she was just doing the wrong things with it. She was twisting it the wrong way and making it bend normally for the Annabelle Beater, and actually was assisting the Annabelle Beater in escaping those certain situations. The Annabelle Beater just didn't take the hint. of I should maybe get out of this, and she just stayed in the armbar position for a very long time, and eventually Liana Yuya just said, okay, you're not going to get out of this. I'll just yank on it a little bit harder, and eventually Liana gave the verbal tap, got the job done. Liana Yuya, very nice on the eyes indeed. Very nice on the eyes indeed. I very much enjoyed watching that grappling session. I would be open to watching her grapple with many a female fighter on the roster. Liana Yuya gets the job done. Flyweight division needs new talent. She's 8-3. She's got a decent record. If she wins one more, she'll be 9-3. If she wins another one, she'll be 10-3. Maybe we could do Liana Yuya versus Talia Santos, who also won on this card in the flyweight division. That would make some level of sense. But good job, Liana Yuya. You got to win. Prove me wrong. Jared Gordon versus Chris Fishgold. I picked Chris Fishgold to win. He didn't want to win. I have the feeling. I don't know how he was 17 or 16-1 before the UFC, because it seems like every time I watch Chris Fishgold, I find myself questioning his record. But you know what? Jared Gordon had a pretty decent fight. Completely dominated, start to finish. I mean, look at the total strikes. 241 to 27. They weren't big shots from Jared Gordon, so he wasn't really getting 10-8 rounds. But he was winning every single round. I just think that Chris Fishgold could have done way more in certain positions. There were moments where Jared Gordon was literally breaking from him, and Chris Fishgold was just staying there on the ground, waiting for Jared Gordon to get back on top of him, like Chris Fishgold had some kind of answer. And this was crazy to me, because Chris Fishgold is a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, but literally had nothing to offer on the ground whatsoever. I picked Chris Fishgold, as you can maybe tell by my tone and my anger here, but he just lost to Jared Gordon. Jared Gordon just kept punching him in the head in certain positions, and Chris Fishgold just didn't progress from any of those positions, was given many a moment to try and get back up. Even in the third round, he was just on his back watching Jared Gordon stand up in front of him, and he chose not to get back up. He chose to stay on his back, so he kind of wanted to lose, in my opinion. But Chris Fishgold lost the fight. Good job, Jared Gordon, getting it done at featherweight. I wouldn't mind a matchup between him and maybe a guy like Nate Landwehr, who's also a guy at featherweight that's coming off a win right now. Needs a fight soon. We'll see what they want to do with Jared Gordon. I don't see them turning him around too quickly. But a good performance from Jared Gordon. He gets the job done. Moving on. Modestas Kaskaskia versus Andreas Mccann. Crazy names, these guys. Crazy names. I had a real hard time commentating this one. Even still, I picked Andreas Michailidis to win. I thought he was going to get a job done. In fact, in that first round, it looked like I was going to be correct in my prediction, because when you really think about it, the elbows that Modestas Bukalkas landed, there was like 6 of them. So you take them away, it was 12 strikes for Modestas and 23 for Andreas Michailidis. He was winning that fight, in my opinion. Landing big leg kicks, landing big shots as well on the feet with the punches. Just doing well. I thought he was going to get the upset victory, but Modestas Bukalkas just started raining down illegal elbows to the back of the head. And then Andreas Michailidis was on the ground, clearly rocked by the elbows, and then they open the cage door behind him, and he falls out of the cage, so the referee just calls off the fight. It's not his fault that you open up the cage door behind him. If he would have fallen backwards into the cage, maybe they wouldn't have stopped the fight. I have no idea what was going on. It was literally the closest thing to an illegal shot I've seen in MMA. I know there was some redness on the backside of Andreas Michailidis' fight, but you can't throw elbows there. And it's a different thing. Here's the different thing. A lot of people say, well, you can throw kicks to the back of the head when you're standing up. You're facing each other then. You can't look down at the back of someone's head and then throw the illegal blows. Like, I understand that maybe McGregor's shot against Poirier was perfectly legal because Poirier was ducking into it and McGregor threw it round the side. It was a legal shot. It was behind the ear. Very cool indeed. That sometimes happens. A lot of guys get hit behind the head as well. Tyron Woodley landed a hit behind the head on, I believe, Dong Hyun Kim at the time, who did a spinning back fist, and he wasn't facing Woodley at the time, and Woodley threw the punch at the same time. I understand those illegal shots happening. But when you're looking down at someone's head in on a takedown on you, and you just crank 12-6 looking elbows to the back of that person's head, I would love for the referee to at least warn you. Because that is a rule. Even if we don't agree with that rule, that's a rule. And Andreas Michailidis shot in on that takedown under the understanding that that rule was going to be implemented and he would not just be able to be rained down with elbows to the back of the head. I thought it was to the back of the head. I saw the replay many a time. I rewatched it before I even started this video as well. It was to the back of the head. But Modestas Bukalkas win, and I'm glad he won because he's more marketable. He's a bigger guy at light heavyweight. He's got a better record as well. I'm glad he fucking won. but I just wish that the rules would have been implemented. But that's okay. Maybe in every fight from now on, we should just rain down shots on the back of people's heads. But that's okay. Good job from Andreas because he got the job done. Moving on, Ricardo Ramos versus Laron Murphy. Laron Murphy gets it done by TKO in the first round. I was so confused during the fight. I did not realize that Ramos went out to that elbow to the head. It didn't even land clean on the jaw. Laron Murphy was kind of getting outdone completely in the fight. Ricardo Ramos doing a bunch of weird shit with the spinning kicks. Did a couple Rabonas. If you don't know, if you haven't played football and you don't know what a Rabona is, it's when you tuck one leg behind your other one, and he was throwing leg kicks with that for some reason. He was just doing weird stuff, and Ramos was winning the fight quite clearly. But then Laron Murphy just started taking over. After that big elbow in the ground and pound, I didn't realise that Ramos went out cold to that, because that did not look hard. It really didn't look hard. That elbow was big, don't get me wrong, and elbows are big when you're on top of someone. But it didn't look like a KO-worthy elbow. Especially for a guy in Ramos who's coming up in weight to featherweight here and not cutting as much weight as he used to at bantamweight. I thought it was a little bit strange. He went for the spinning back fist. The spinning back fist that he landed against Damien Sahabi. I actually called that he was going to go for a spin, because you can kind of tell when guys are loading up their hips. But Laron Murphy saw it coming, got the body lock, got a big win. I just thought it was a bit weird of a stoppage. I just didn't see it coming. Ramos didn't look like he was out, and he just didn't look like he was defending at all. Like he had... Maybe he was that badly hurt by that weird elbow that didn't even look like it had too much power behind it, that he just couldn't possibly recover. The same Ricardo Ramos that beat Luis Eduardo Gregori. The same Ricardo Ramos that went to a very competitive fight with Saeed Nurmagomedov just couldn't take that one elbow from Laron Murphy. The guy who took guys who have negative records to a decision. It was weird to me, but Laron Murphy gets it done. I'm actually glad he gets it done. 9-0, undefeated, probably more marketable as well, seeing as he just got a TKO finish. That's very nice, even if it was a bit weird and I didn't see it coming. Laron Murphy gets it done. Good job moving on up the card. John Phillips versus Khamzat Chimaev. The only other fight on the prelims I got correct. Bad night of predictions, I believe, for everyone, but still, tough night of predictions for me, for sure. Chimaev was another one of those fights, the same thing with Jack Shaw as well. I don't even want to take credit for these predictions, because this was like, not if he wins, how does he win? And how easy does he make it look? Turns out Chimaev makes it look really easy. I had a parlay with him winning in the first round. It looked like that was going to happen because John Phillips just had no answer for his takedowns whatsoever. Khamzat Chimaev went right out there in the second round, got the submission, got it done. John Phillips is done. 22-10. I'm guessing they're going to keep him around in the UFC, but I just don't see why. Even in some of his wins, he doesn't look too good, but still... Khamzat Chimaev, 7-0, undefeated guy, should stay at middleweight in my opinion. I don't know how ever in his career he made welterweight. That makes no sense whatsoever. He's bigger than John Phillips in the middleweight division. I feel like him versus Ed Herman would be a good matchup. Him versus Dao and Jung would be a decent matchup. Maybe even him versus... There's some good matchups for him. I don't even think Ed Herman and the other guy are in the middleweight division. They might even not be. They're not in the middleweight division, I don't think. I actually have no idea right now. What fucking division is Ed Herman in? He's in the light heavyweight division, I'm pretty sure. The light heavyweight division. Please tell me I'm right here, bro. I'm going to lose my fucking mind. There's no way I'm wrong on this. He's in the light heavyweight division. Thank fuck. That would have been embarrassing if I didn't know what division he was in. Either way, Khamzat Chimaev fighting at middleweight. There's great fighters at middleweight all round. Pick a fucking guy. I don't give a fuck, to be honest with you. If he wants to go down to welterweight, go down. If you want to smoke another bum at middleweight, maybe Bartosz Verbinski versus Khamzat Chimaev. Bartosz Verbinski coming off a big win against Darren Stewart. Quite decently high up the rankings. Maybe Khamzat Chimaev wants to take on him. Perhaps on the Khabib versus Gaethje card. You know? Would be quite good. Khamzat Chimaev's on my radar now, though, definitely. I picked him to win this fight. I've seen his fights outside the UFC. He's very dominant and impressive. Undefeated still, 7-0. Great fight. Dominant. Start to finish. No chance for John Phillips to win. Good job, Khamzat Chimaev. Moving on to the main card. Abdul Razak Hassan versus Munille Aziz. Yeah, just crazy. I don't know why they were standing it up in certain positions. That made no sense to me whatsoever. Abdul Razak Hassan was literally in deep trouble against Munille Lazzez. Lazzez was on side control against Abdul Hassan, and Abdul was breathing heavy, and Lazzez was landing some decent elbows, but he was just in side control. He'd worked so hard to get from full guard to half guard to side control. He'd worked all that way to get to that very advantageous position against Abdul Hassan in his UFC debut, his biggest fight of his career, only for the referee to say, hey, no side control allowed. We're standing this thing up. It was weird to me. I don't know why referees do that. I'm a big fan of maybe if they're in full guard and they're just not doing anything, maybe then stand it up. Or maybe if they're in the clinch and one guy's got over-unders, or they both have over-unders. That's the definition of over-unders. But if they both have over-unders and they're just standing there next to each other and no one's able to progress from an over-under position and they just keep negating each other, maybe then separate things. But to separate a guy when he's in side control on someone, that's crazy shit, man. That really is crazy shit. I don't see why they do it. He's worked so hard to get to that position, and they just take it away from him. But Munille Lazzez looked very good. He's on my radar, man. He is on my radar right now in the welterweight division. He's a long, rangy guy. Abdul Hassan, in my opinion, looked like absolute fucking shit. I picked him to win. He looked like dog shit, in my opinion. He looked a little bit flabby, and maybe this court case is taking a little bit of a toll on his body and brain. I'm sure it would, because that's a horrible thing to get accused of. But still, he looked a little bit chubby than I last remembered. A little bit chubby, and I know I'm not one to talk, but still, I can say that. He did look a little bit more chubby than I last remembered. Didn't look in as good of shape. Didn't look as fast as I remembered him being. Maybe this is just an aging process. He was in his prime when he was last in the UFC. Now he's 34 years of age. I just feel as though he didn't look like the same Abdul Hassan. If he went to the body more in the first round, maybe he could have done some more work, but he was headhunting. They didn't look like powerful shots either, and Munille Lazzez just kept sliding in knees, sliding in front kicks, elbows. Great stuff from Munille Lazzez. Great style to watch. Kind of like a Douglas Lima-ish style, I found myself wondering. But he's a great fighter. 10-1. Good fighter. Dominant against Abdul Hassan, gets the job done. I would love to see him versus Miguel Beza, or him versus perhaps Daniel Rodriguez. Two up-and-comers in the UFC, Miguel Beza, Daniel Rodriguez, both 2-0. Munille Lazzez just fucking stunned the world on the main card against Abdul Hassan. Not many people had him winning this bout, including me. Got the job done. Let's do him versus Beza, or him versus Daniel Rodriguez on the main card of a fight night, and I'll be down to watch it. Molly Mccann versus Taylor Santos. Again, I picked Molly Mccann because Taylor Santos has one of the most padded records in UFC history. I've never seen a girl who's taken on so many fucking tin cans in her entire career and made some of those fights look close, but somehow she has what it takes to beat Molly Mccann. It made no sense to me whatsoever. I have no idea how she went out there and got it done. I understand it was a close fight and the odds were close for a reason, but I just don't know how to predict women's MMA anymore. Molly Mccann just wasn't fighting for underhooks. That's like 101, surely. The first lesson of MMA. Okay, we're going to teach you how to defend underhook, or how to defend takedowns by looking for underhooks. She just wasn't going for him. She was accepting takedowns. It was weird. But she got beaten by Taylor Santos. Taylor Santos is 16-1. Even if you think she's had the most padded record in anyone's fucking career. She's fought a bunch of absolute schmucks before she got to the UFC and lost her only fight against a decently recorded fighter who was like 12-5. Not even decently recorded, but for a women's division, that's pretty damn good. That's like being 28-0. If you're 15-2. If you're 15-8 in a women's division, you're like 20-2 in a men's division, honestly. Taylor Santos is good, I guess. We had no idea of that. I had no idea to predict her. She hasn't beaten anyone of record whatsoever. She beat one girl who had a decent record of 6-1, I believe, but before that, nothing but tin cans. I thought Molly Mccann was quite good. She was doing good on the feet, I thought, doing actually pretty good in the striking, but just was too weak and wasn't just doing the fundamental basic things that you learn to defend the takedowns. So Taylor Santos just kept getting them and got the win because of it. Taylor Santos gets the job done, but good luck to Molly Mccann in her future. She's an entertaining fighter to watch, even though this result didn't go her way. Moving on. Jimmie Rivera versus Cody Stamen. Here's the ones I got right. Jimmie Rivera got the job done against Stamen, completely outclassed him. I made a full fight reaction video to this fight. It was a good one, very technical. Cody Stamen now 19-3. I just knew that Stamen wasn't quite on the level of the rest of the guys at the top. Even though he beat Song Yadong, in my opinion, he made it close. Even though he beat Brian Kelleher, he lost the third round, and that was somewhat competitive throughout as well. Like, he did do a good job, but that's Brian Kelleher. Please destroy him. Those were red flags to me. Cody Stamen had made guys that I think that Jimmie Rivera would destroy. I think Rivera would destroy Brian Kelleher. I thought that before this matchup between him and Stamen. I think Jimmie Rivera would destroy Song Yadong and really outclass him. And Stamen just didn't make those fights dominant enough for me to pick him over Jimmie Rivera. Jimmie Rivera got the job done against Cody Stamen, 23-4. He's only lost to Aljamain, Piotr Yan, and Marlon Moraes, champ 1 and 2. So I don't think we should start calling off Jimmie Rivera just yet. I still think he's got some things to do. He's taken a bit of time off. Plus, he didn't cut down to bantamweight, which is obviously going to help his chin. Take some more time off, Jimmie Rivera. You've got a big win. You've turned back the clock. Maybe you look to take on the winner of Edgar versus Munoz, but Jimmie Rivera just outclassed Cody Stamen every round. Landed a few more strikes. Stuffed every takedown. There was a position where the ref separated it again, which was AIDS. I don't know why they keep doing that. But still, Jimmie Rivera gets it done. Great inside leg kicks. Yeah, good job, Jimmie Rivera, just schooling Cody Stamen over 3 rounds. I had all 3 for Rivera. I could maybe have seen 2 for Stamen, but I had all 3 for Jimmie Rivera, so good job him. Moving on, Tim Elliott versus Ryan Benoit. People are saying this is a robbery, you know. That's crazy to me. I don't think this was a robbery whatsoever. I mean, fair enough, Ryan Benoit may have been landing the bigger shots because he was loading up a little bit more, but the front kick to the stomach can equally finish you as a big haymaker. In fact, I think a good front kick to the stomach might have more of a chance of finishing you than a big shot. I mean, guys eat haymakers to the face so many times every single fight. You can get dropped with a front kick to the stomach. You can get finished with an inside leg kick. I don't know why we're starting to discount the credibility of shots that aren't haymakers. And I don't know why that keeps happening, because it seems to happen more and more every fight. Inside leg kicks mean something. Leg kicks mean something. Guys are going to be limping. Ryan Benoit is going to be limping for a week after this. He ate so many inside leg kicks. Front kicks to the stomach. They hurt. They can finish you. Just as equally as much as a haymaker can finish you. Or a big punch can finish you. And honestly, Ryan Benoit wasn't even landing too clean. Landing on a bit on the arms. Tim Elliott always seemed to roll with the punch. Seemed to take it well. There was a moment in the 3rd round. Maybe you could argue a round for Ryan Benoit. But I had Tim Elliott winning, man. I really did. I have no idea why everyone thought that Ryan Benoit was winning, if that's how you pronounce his name. Ryan Benoit. It was just crazy to me. Honestly, maybe I wouldn't be so firm on Tim Elliott winning, but the fact that people were calling robbery was crazy to me, man. First Holloway versus Volkanovski, now this afterwards. Can we calm down, please? Getting outstruck in a round versus landing the bigger shots, that's an opinion-based round. And the judges have that opinion. And they thought Tim Elliott won because he landed more every round. And not to mention at the end of the 1st, people had this 3-0 Benoit. 2 and 3 were quite close, I'll give you that. I thought Tim Elliott landed more in all of them, in every single round. And he could have won every round. Maybe you could give 1 round to Ryan Benoit. But still, people were calling 3-0 Benoit. If you gave that 1st round to Ryan Benoit, I don't know what to fucking say. That is actually retardation. Like, I don't understand that anymore. I don't know how you could give the 1st round to Ryan Benoit. Fair enough if you gave 2 and 3 to him. They were close rounds. I thought Tim Elliott should have got them because he just outlanded him in both of those rounds. But you know what? Maybe we don't care about numbers anymore. We just care about, did the guy grunt when he threw the punch? Did the guy really look like he used his strength when he threw the shot? Because we're just going to start discounting anything other than a haymaker. It's what I feel like the fight game is turning into recently. I thought Tim Elliott won. People thought Ryan Benoit won. Good job. Ryan Benoit had a decent fight, but 10-7. Maybe it's time to cut him from the UFC. He hasn't won any big fights in a very long time. Cut him from the UFC. He's 10-7. Tim Elliott won. Keep him along. I think you should take on David Dvorak or maybe Brandon Royval next. They're going to be making Kai Kara France versus Alex Perez, I assume. So that's going to leave out Brandon Royval, who just beat Tim Elliott, actually. So no, don't do him versus Royval next. Do him versus David Dvorak. David Dvorak, newcomer, hasn't fought Tim Elliott yet. Tim Elliott versus David Dvorak on the main card of a fight night. Tim Elliott being in a co-main event here, and the flyweights being in a co-main event here, has done the flyweight division a little bit of a favour because it was a decent fight to watch. Very entertaining. I'm sure people are going to be paying more attention to Tim Elliott moving forward if they didn't know him before. Hopefully they don't check his recent record, otherwise they're going to be put off because he's lost a lot. But he gets the win, saves his career. Good job, Tim Elliott. Great fight as well. Close fight. Not a fucking robbery, guys. Calm yourself down. Moving on, Calvin Kattar versus Danny Ige. Made a full fight reaction to this as well. Kattar just picked him apart for 5 rounds. Ige, in my opinion, won one of the rounds. Other than that, Kattar minorly outstruck him in round 3 by 1 strike. If you want to argue that Ige won that round, maybe you can. I would argue that Kattar landed the more impactful shots and had the bigger moments. And not to mention he outlanded him by 1. Even if you want to give Ige that round, I still think you give round 3 to Kattar. But Ige won round 2. Did pretty good in round 2. In fact, I thought Kattar was going to finish Ige in round 2. So Ige winning round 2 was a real shock to me. But Calvin Kattar fought through a broken nose in the earlier 2 rounds. Went through the entire fight. Got better and better as the fight went on. More and more dominant as the fight went on as well. Dan Ige was throwing a lot of shots, which made it look close. But Dan Ige, I've noticed he does this a lot. And maybe this is how he got the decision win against Edson Barboza. He throws punches at guys' guards. He doesn't throw for the head. I've noticed this a lot in Dan Ige's fights, and this one really kind of cemented it for me. He throws punches at Kattar's guard, like his hands and arms. And they don't land, but they look like they land, but they don't. Dan Ige's shots don't really land too often. They land on the arms, on the shoulders, on the chest. Like, he throws a lot of things that look like they land, but they don't. And maybe that's how he got a decision against Barboza, because I have no idea how. But Dan Ige is a very good fighter, very game, very tough. He's got a good chin. He took big shots from Calvin Kattar in that fight. Calvin Kattar just knew when to turn it on in every round, and the last 2 rounds were a little bit more cruisy for him. You could kind of see after the 3rd round, once Dan Ige couldn't get the 3rd round, I think if Ige thought he won the 3rd round, he would have gone for it in the later 2. But he lost the 3rd, and I think you could see it on Dan Ige, like, right, I'm not going to risk getting KO'd here. This guy's hitting me pretty hard. I've already been dropped to the body from a jumping front kick to the stomach. I think Dan Ige fought, and I said this in my full fight reaction video, which you can check out, where I give a bit more of a breakdown and a bit more of a thorough analysis. I thought Dan Ige fought with less potential of success, but a lower potential of being KO'd, instead of fighting with a higher potential of success, but potentially getting KO'd. I think he realised that, hey, I'm probably not going to beat this guy. Let me just not get KO'd. And Kattar kind of picks him apart. But Dan Ige had some good moments. And listen, as much as people say that Dan Ige looked like he didn't want it in those later rounds, which I kind of say as well, he was going for those takedowns. And that takedown in the 4th round that Kattar defended, I have no idea how he defended that takedown. That was like, a lot of guys, that's over. But Kattar was being lifted up. So he bounced up in the air, jumped up, so that the momentum of him jumping up in the air would sway the momentum of Dan Ige running with him in the air. I don't even know what happened, but Calvin Kattar somehow stayed on his feet throughout the entire fight. Got taken down partially at one point, but popped right back up. I think Calvin Kattar got it done. 3 rounds to 2, 4 rounds to 1. There's no debate over that. He definitely won the fight. Good job from him. Not the big breakout performance we were looking for, but still, he wins. Good job, Calvin Kattar. That's what he was supposed to do. And in the meantime, he's shown us that he can't be taken down by anyone in the division, in my opinion. I don't understand how his takedown defense is that good, but it is an immediate reaction to get right back to his feet every single time like it's nothing, which is crazy to me. And he also showed us he can go 5 rounds, and he also showed us he can outstrike someone, which is something that he's had trouble doing. Normally he gets outstruck and he lands the big bomb. But he outstruck Dan Ige, who's a good fighter. So good job, Calvin Kattar. Great win. Big things on the horizon for him. I feel as though if Ortega beats Korean Zombie, they'll do him versus Ortega. If Korean Zombie beats Ortega, they'll give Korean Zombie the title shot. And they'll do him versus the winner of maybe Zabit versus Yair. Who knows? We'll see what happens. He called out Alex Volkanovski. He's not going to get a fight with Alexander Volkanovski whatsoever, in my opinion. In a division where everyone's calling out the champ and everyone's not fighting each other, he should have jumped at the opportunity to take on Max Holloway. And say, you know what, I know Kattar thinks that Holloway won the fight, so maybe he could have played that off, like, I want the real champ, I want Holloway, and got all of these dumb guys that think Holloway got robbed to fucking rile up and go, yeah, he thinks he's the champ, let's give him to Holloway. You know, maybe he could have done that, but good job from Kattar, great performance, scored him over 5 rounds. Good job, moving on. There's no one else to move on to. That was the card. Wow, that wasn't that stacked. But either way, I said moving on, like that was the co-main event. But that was a main event. Good main event. Wasn't the most entertaining in the world. Dan Ige, in my opinion, has no... Listen, fight Shane Burgos. Dan Ige versus Shane Burgos. December, pay-per-view card. Headliner of the prelims. Sign me the fuck up. That's a great fight. Co-main event of any fight night as well. Dan Ige versus Shane Burgos is an amazing scrap. Let's make it happen. Like and subscribe. Click that button there. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.